right, we're back with the Heads or Tails podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with Meraki Performance. Excited to be back with another episode. Super excited for my guest, Brent. You guys probably recognize him a little bit. Owner of, one of the fearless leaders of CatchMark Technologies, managing partner, recent author of The Singular Life, which I'm really excited to dig into today because I think a lot of the philosophies and the things that you researched and put into that and talked about really aligned with what we talked a lot about here.
Right.
So just excited to be digging in with that, and want to say thanks for being on the podcast, Brent.
No problem. It's great to be here. And again, you're one of my favorite people. So I love what you do, and I love the message you try to get out. And I would agree, a lot of I think our views and philosophies on life and leadership and all of it kind of align. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, and I'm glad with this partnership. I know it's like 2.5 years ago. I was like coming around. I think I was on a podcast, maybe for SportsNet, and
Yeah.
then we got connected. We went out to lunch one time, and
Yeah.
you said, "Hey, be a part of this business leadership group," and it's just been a great partnership ever since. So I appreciate the connection, and you believe in me because I believe in what you guys do as well.
Yeah. I remember actually the first time I saw your logo on social media, and I was like, "What's this? What's this logo?" Because you didn't have the business name; it was just a logo. And I remember thinking, "What is this thing?" It was really good marketing because I'm like, everybody keeps sharing this thing. What is this? Who is this guy? And then once I got to know you, it was even better than what I thought. So
I appreciate
really
it.
good. But,
It's funny because when I remember doing that, and I remember intentionally going, I'm trying to like tease it out.
It was good. It was really good. It caught me. I was like, cool. Hide and seeker. I think I saw the first time I saw it, Cody put it out, Cody Cater, and I'm like, and I didn't want to ask him because he's just Cody, and I'm like, so then I saw somebody else, and I'm like, what is this? Is this like equipment? Like, what is this thing? So it was really good.
Love it. Cool. So I want to dive into a recent author, right?
Yeah.
Like what I want to just know what sparked you writing this. And I think one thing I would love to just highlight to everybody is, from my perspective, like you didn't talk about it, man. You just did it. And I think that so many people, and this is great for athletes to know, it's like they talk and talk and talk and talk, and that ends up being the thing that they get excited and dopamine from. But it's really you like just went out and did it. You wrote the book, man.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I'm getting old now. I'm almost 50 years old. So over my life, I've had so many failures and so many poor leaders, good leaders, so many different experiences that I just tried to make mental notes about and what I wanted to do better. Mm-hmm. And over the last 10 or 15 years with CatchMark, I've been in a position where I'm trying to help people grow, and I'm trying to help other people see the best in themselves. And as I was doing that, I just started taking notes and I started jotting things down. And I toyed around with this. I had a blog. I don't remember when I started it, and I didn't kind of follow through to think outside the box. I still own the domain name, still published business, but I never really kind of kept going with it. Yeah. And I had one of my really good friends who no longer, well, he works at CatchMark, but he works semi at CatchMark, Brian, who came on board maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And Brian really struggled with the entrepreneurial piece and the separation of life and work. Mm-hmm. And really had some, as we went down the path of his one-on-ones, had some serious like kind of anxiety about who he was. And and I remember taking notes then and thinking, this is the stuff that I'm researching and trying to help him, and the stuff that I'm trying to do to just help him grow. I started looking inside. I'm like, man, I'm doing some of these things wrong too. Sure. And but it just got this idea that kind of went, and I didn't really mention it to anybody. My wife didn't know until it was published. So I said, hey, take a look at this link, and I sent her a link, and she's kind of, she doesn't swear much, but she was like, what the hell? Yeah. Like, when were you doing this? And I'm like, it's just because I get up early. Sometimes I can't sleep. I'll be up at 4 o'clock. I'm like, all these small spaces, to get it together. And again, my personal mission, help people and solve problems. Yeah. So that's kind of where it all stemmed from. And I thought maybe some of these things that I've learned and that I've dealt with can help other people. Absolutely. So that's kind of where it came from. But
yeah. And so the book is The Singular Life.
Right.
And I love the subtitle, Breaking the Work-Home Divide to Lead with Integrity.
Yeah.
right? It's not just like breaking that divide, but to lead with integrity. Like why that subtitle? Like what? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the premise of the book is to be one person.
Mm.
It's to not live two separate lives or wear masks or have different roles that you serve. So that's where the integrity piece comes out,
Yeah.
right? If you have integrity, you're going to be the same person regardless of the situation you're in. I've often, one of the things that people that know me well, I always say time and opportunity. And
Okay.
what do you mean by time? Well, if I have the time and opportunity to do something, I'm gonna be successful at it. And I think the thing is any opportunity you take, any role you go into. We were talking beforehand. You're coaching a lot of your kids'
Yeah.
teams, right? Being the same person with that team that you are in your work life or in your home life. And I mentioned, it hit me and it hit me pretty hard initially. I remember I was really getting into building culture at work and building great things and how teams work and vulnerability. And I'm a big Pat Lencioni fan. And how do you do these types of things? And I went home one day and something happened and I just got angry. And I remember sitting back and thinking, boy, all these things I'm saying at work, I'm kind of a hypocrite.
Mm.
I'm kind of not the same person. And why? And why am I reacting and actually overreacting to these things that are going on at home? When at work I can handle these things and I'm very calm. And as I dug deeper, and it's kind of what the book talks about, is what was happening was I was not consistent across those two areas.
Sure.
And so I was acting in one way and I hadn't made those real changes. And then when I got home and something happened, all of that anxiety and frustration came out there. And so it really hit me. I want to be the same person.
Yeah.
I want to be humble, hungry, smart. And I don't want to just do that at work. I want to be whole.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it does. In what I'm hearing too, correct me if I'm wrong, but like in the acting, there is a conscious cognitive energy that's being put towards that.
Oh yeah.
And so it like depletes your energy, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've noticed over my years on this earth, and all of you that are in acting or that are stage, screen, whatever you do, please don't take this as a negative thing. But when you really talk to performers, a lot of times they're not really happy, right? And the reason they're not happy is because I think they lose who they actually are in their performances, and that's pretty much what's happening in everyday life, right? Like you're putting on a mask and you're just somebody else. Does that make sense? And the reason actors aren't happy is because they've got to switch masks, from the time they get on set till the time they get home till the time they go out in public because they've got their public persona that they have to maintain. And you're right. What happens is that separation or that tear between those two roles, it's emotionally exhausting. It's very difficult. I mean, when you're a kid, imagine lying to your parents, right?
Sure.
And my dad always used to say, "You're gonna get caught," and wouldn't it just be better if you were just honest? Because the effort and the energy that you put into lying is enormous. It's kind of the same thing, right? Your lie just compounds, and you just keep. And so you people burn themselves out in a way that they don't even realize they're burning themselves out, and oftentimes in a way that society or even work culture has told them to respond, like work-life balance, separation. It's got to be two different things, and they're artificially creating this problem where they're never going to be fulfilled and whole and happy.
Yeah, and it also makes that compounding too.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a sense of, people think karma is just this magical thing that comes back, but I've really leaned into the idea that it's the decisions that end up building up that finally are like, here's the outcome.
Right.
Like you've been making this decision, here's the outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and unfortunately for a lot of people, and I use some scenarios and some examples in the book. It's catastrophe, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the scenarios I use, the guy has a nervous breakdown, and he just panic attack and and unfortunately that's how it usually manifests. One of my favorite quotes is, "Change happens because enlightenment or catastrophe, and usually catastrophe brings enlightenment." And
Yeah.
so like unfortunately that's how people hit.
Yeah.
They hit a point in their life when they just can't do it anymore. And um, that's the key thing on how do you respond? What do you do when you hit that point? Well,
Absolutely.
how do you look at that? So
Yeah. Some people talk about the dark night of the soul,
right.
like this like evolution of I get to a place where it's identity crisis.
Yeah, it
Um,
really is.
yeah. In your research and writing the book too, like did you dive into at all of like, hey, I'm this person but I desire to be this person, right? Like let's the example of hungry humble smart,
Yeah,
I might not embody those at this point in time, but I
I want
have
to grow there.
desire to embody those things. What does that look like as you're walking through this process and or like really developing that singular life?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's all about consistency, and it's going to be very hard for you to grow. What a lot of people do is they grow in their work life, and
Hmm.
they try to separate the two.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it doesn't. And this is where it hit me, right? Like I am this person that if I took a survey with my teammates at
Hmm.
work,
Hmm. Hmm.
they would answer one way, and if I took a survey with my family at home, they would answer a completely different way.
Yeah,
And so, how am I ever going to get to where I want to be if I can't even be that raw person across all that I'm pretending?
sure.
And so, the energy I'm taking to do that should be put towards growth. And
Hmm.
that's kind of where you're stagnating yourself. You're actually working against yourself if you are trying to be that ideal or that principle or that thing that you want to get to by doing it separate. And
Yeah,
I think that that's any energy wasted is energy wasted.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So does
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And as you say that, I wrote down formation. And the reason why I wrote that down is because I have reflected,
Yeah.
and I have reflected in the fact that in the spaces when I'm working with athletes, teams, organizations, this, and I'm not always that at home. And I'm very intentional here, and I'm intentional at home, but I'm realizing I'm not as intentional. And
Right.
my wife and I are
Me
really
too.
leaning into and going, wait a second, how do we actually shape and help develop our boys and use your skill set and where we want to go
Yep.
to really be that intentional with them and to
Yep.
not allow, whatever to shape, but for us to really shape and form them.
Yeah.
And it's just you saying that is like, yeah, we recognize that in our life and went, hold on a second, how do we be more like that at home, like we are outside of our home?
Yeah.
And just recognizing that we're not doing a terrible job, but we can do better and we need to do better. We
Yeah.
desire to do better.
Yeah. I mean, none of this works without self-reflection. So
Yeah,
that's the very first thing I think I would tell anybody is if you can't be real with yourself, you mentioned where I want to get to or where do you want to be. Well, you also have to be real in where you're at.
yeah. Hmm.
And I think that that's a hard piece for people too, is to just be able to step back and go, I'm just not very good at this right now, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
How do I get better, right?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of chapter two ish is the mask we wear. Like what are like being able to like figure out who we are is kind of the first step,
Yeah.
right? To getting better or to improving or to being whole. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Like you talk a lot about work home balance, the working adult, things like that. If you were talking about this to a group like a team or athletes, high school age, even college age, that are in that formation process, what would you be encouraging them with in that season of life to start
oh boy,
maybe shifting their mind towards this, or to
yeah.
even say, hey, I want to call you to embrace this.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. To be honest with you, I thought more about those that maybe are already in a crisis
Sure,
or
sure, sure. Yeah.
in that period in their life when they're not sure. Some might call it midlife crisis. I don't, but
Yeah.
I think what I would say is don't compartmentalize things,
Mm.
and which is kind of the opposite sometimes of the advice they get. Well,
Hmm.
leave it on the field,
Hmm.
or separate that, leave that stuff at practice, or leave your home stuff at home and don't bring it on the practice field.
Hmm.
It's not a call to necessarily. Some people will hear bring baggage with, but
Yeah.
that's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's bring your whole self and learn how to regulate in all of those spaces and try not to compartmentalize. I mean, when you talk about athletes and um, those that get to the pinnacle of their profession or whatever, I was just listening to a book called Inner Excellence.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
read
Jim
that,
Murphy.
yeah, and
Yep.
he was
Yep.
talking about He works with a lot of professional athletes. He was a pro athlete himself, and he talked about how some of the most difficult cases he's worked with are those that have they've actually attained the success that they wanted and realized it didn't bring them happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so he talks a lot about the process in the work being where the joy is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I would say that be your whole self across all those aspects. You're not a drummer in the band. You're not a quarterback on the. You are who you are.
Yeah.
Those are just things you happen to do, and don't let those things define who you are.
Yeah.
Define who you are, and this is where the singularity comes from. I think is by your principles and by how you want to live your life. And I think that's one of the big things. Does that answer your question?
It does, because I'm just, as we're having this conversation, I'm reflecting in my own life, and I've been really anchored in on this idea too that strength is holding on to what you deem as important, your values or,
Right.
or the direction in your life, no matter the situation, no matter the environment, no matter what's right, and to not pile more on that is unnecessary, but to hold on to those things.
Right.
And that's the dots that I'm really connecting, because I've realized that when I try to compartmentalize, I end up going back into that space and I'm like beating myself up, or I'm overwhelmed again, or I have that like right.
Right.
But when I just go, hey, this is all going on, but these things are still important, so I'm going to hold on to these things and move these forward. It actually allows me to focus more. I've realized that even in the last couple of weeks, it's like allowed me that when I do go to work or when I do come home and I have all those other things going on, it allows me to really drive my focus more, because the outside circumstances, I'm gonna tune you out a little bit. I'm gonna cope by focusing in on what I believe is important, because holding on to that is strength.
Yeah, and I would echo that to say it's your life isn't measured by what you achieved; it's measured by how you lived it, right?
Yeah.
And I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. I hate my kids came home from school and they're all getting a little bit older now, but this was 5, 10 years ago, and talking about tryhards.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why? What? Okay, what's a tryhard? And they're like, well, it's somebody who tries hard. And I'm like, oh boy, that's so backwards on what you like. Is that a bad thing? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's so backwards.
Yeah.
Like, um, the idea is it's it, it's the person that joyfully sacrifices and lives to get better that's going to have rewards and feel happy, and not the person who just has accolades and achievements. And in the book, like Inner Excellence, that's what he's talking about. Like they because they got everything they wanted. They won the Super Bowl. They were the MVP. They were this book, and they're still unhappy. Well, why? And he had to refocus them back on what really made you happy was the camaraderie, the way you went about it, how hard you worked, all those things. And if you take those in there and don't focus on the result necessarily, which is opposite culturally, it's completely opposite of maybe not everything our culture teaches, but what they reward.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what you're talking about is getting back to that, right? Like, sure, you want to have a successful podcast and a successful consulting career, but it's more about how you live and how you got there, and modeling that for your kids and for your wife and for your friends and other people.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and with Jim Murphy's book, talking about to what you said, that process, finding fulfillment in that, enjoying that journey. You know what I mean? Because that's where all the memories and the development comes from.
Yeah, yeah. As a leader, specifically here, I had this. I remember there. I had you talk about seasons of life, right?
Yeah.
Like through my leadership journey, which is never going to be over, but there's a period where I would just get super, super frustrated. I shouldn't have to tell people this. I shouldn't have to follow up. I shouldn't have to do that. Which at the time I didn't realize it. It's the exact opposite. That's what a leader does. They follow up. They remind. They clear hurdles. Because leaders are servants, and that's what I had to get. And is that who I want to be, which is what you talk about. Where do I want to be? Where do I want to go? And then secondly, do I want to be that across all aspects of my life, not just here? Because great stuff. I mean,
yeah. So as you're writing this book, what was maybe one of the in the process of maybe not even writing, but just taking these mental notes? What was the thing that really stuck out of like, whoa, this really shifted the way that I view this, or how I need to go about things differently. Like, was there anything that really popped out for you?
I think I had that shift before I wrote the book.
Yeah.
So the process of writing the book was I had these ideas, I had a shift, I saw people struggling at it. So the things I was writing, was writing more from a place of experience where it had already happened, and I kind of explained that the one moment where I don't even remember what I got mad about, but I was furious. And then my wife looked at me and she knew it was going to go from that thing to something else to something. And I was just going to be mad. And they all are going their separate ways to just stay out of my way for the rest of the night. And I stopped and I stepped back and I thought, this isn't who I want to be. This isn't who I was 2 hours ago. Why am I all of a sudden this person right now? And that was kind of my, you call it an aha moment, but I didn't have the book in mind at that time. As I was kind of going through the book and trying to kind of pare down, because you don't want it to be too long, you don't want it to be too short, you want it to be meaningful. You know, really, the thing that came out to me that I think most people struggle with is the integrity and the honesty piece, and it's everybody's really good at telling each other what they're not good at, but they're not good at is stopping and going, I'm just not this person yet, and I need to be better, and I'm not good at it. And so, chapter 3 is about illusions, right? An illusion of balance, and chapter 4 is about integrating that. But you have to be able to be authentic. You have to be able to look at yourself and understand where you're at. So, I would say that's the one thing. It wasn't when I was writing it necessarily; it was before that, and then I was just trying to bring that kind of ideal to the book, to what we were doing. So.
Yeah, I mean, I just, as you're saying that too, in reflecting and being honest, going through something where it spun me out way more.
Right.
And at first I'm like, oh, and I'm upset about it.
Right.
And now, even this morning, I go, I'm so glad I went through that, because what it exposed is that I'm really not yet that person that I desire. And I really did let go of the things that I thought were important. And I'm so glad that that experience exposed that for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think sometimes people get in the point too where they think, oh, what Brent's saying, what Dan's kind of echoing is just give it all. And that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
It's leading in a true manner. And one of the things I talk about in the book, and none of the ideas in the book are unique. It's just a different way to put them all together. But truth tellers and mirrors, right? And I think one of the things that I've been very blessed with is having people in my life that will tell me the honest truth, and aren't just going to tell me I'm great and that I did this well and I did this well, and they're going to be honest with me, and that really helps with the self reflection. That really helps with that. I mean, my wife is going to tell me how it is. She's going to tell me, when I'm not being who I want to be, and when that's going off keister. And I've come a long ways, but that's still sometimes in there. I mean, you get frustrated, things pile on, life gets you, and you start to shift a little bit, and you need those people to do that. And I too many times people surround themselves with people who are the opposite.
Yeah.
Right. Around here, one of the things we're trying to build at CatchMark is healthy conflict and accountability. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's amazing how hard it is to get people to do that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah.
What would you tell younger you, right, before this? Now that you wrote that book, because I think, like,
how much younger? Like 19, 30, like 40.
As you're sharing that, I'm just reflecting too. You're 100% correct. And even I'm saying this to athletes, where coaches might say, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, no, I'm doing that, or they're avoiding that accountability because we have a view of ourselves in a way of like, no, I already got that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we don't want to kill the ego, because ego matters, but you want to be able to manage ego. You want to be able to direct ego in the right way. But what would you say to yourself? Because I'm sure you were just like me, where it's like, I got this. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, what?
Oh boy.
How do you move? Yeah, how do we move through that?
Well, first I'd like to say to my mom and dad. Sorry. My dad has passed. I'm sorry. It was not an easy child to raise. I think let it go. Like, to quote a Disney song. I don't know.
Sure.
I think that I think I used to think my superpower was this chip on my shoulder that I had. And while it did help to move me, it also was extremely corrosive and extremely bad, and I had to figure out the right motivation to get there. And um, it took a long time. I mean, I got to burn my hand a lot. I'm a learner, but I'm a tough learner, and I think I had to have life kind of break me down and then use those examples and use those things to just learn how to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, did you feel like at some point in time that chip wasn't the driving force, but was actually the heaviness holding you back?
Yeah, I would say it took a long time though. I would say even into maybe my mid 30s, I would say I still, you go. I always wanted to fight. I always wanted to battle. I always wanted to be the hero. I always wanted to, and a lot of the stories in previous careers that people would tell is like, oh, you remember when you got that guy and you just did this thing great and you did this. Well, why was I doing that? I was doing it because it's a hero complexity, or it's a like, and the problem with that is that it's fleeting.
It is, man.
Because you feel good for the instance when you just won that one thing, and then it's just a low until you get to. So I had a lot of trouble with, which people nowadays that know me now are surprised by this. I had trouble with follow through and being disciplined, people being able to rely on me if it wasn't one of those hero moments. If it wasn't something where everything is kind of broken loose and I'm having to come in and sweep. That I was great at that stuff. I was great at taking chaos and putting it into place. But then when I had to maintain it, that's where the low would go, and it wasn't nearly as much fun, and the dopamine wasn't there, so yeah, it took me a long time, I think, to where I just realized that if I want to be a great leader, that's really what I want to be, I have to serve people, and going back to CatchMark or to any other organization I lead, I need to create an organization or a group of people that don't need me, which for somebody with a chip and hero complex, that is extremely difficult.
Ego.
It's ego, right?
Yeah,
and so, but they want me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like the place can run itself, and you've got all of society and culture who says, well, then you're letting people down, or you're building resilience in your team, and if they do the right things, they're not going to need you eventually. It's like raising kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a great metaphor for that. It's funny. I use golf as an example in life a lot because it really is a great sport for that. I always had a natural ability to play golf, but I was not a good golfer for most of my life. And the reason for that is because I was not balanced.
Okay.
And every sport you play, there's kind of this effort out, is what I call it. It's this, okay, I'm not shooting well in a basketball game. What do I do? Well, I just give exponential effort on defense, and I go rebound, and I just work hard. Golf's the opposite.
Yeah.
I hit bad shots. You don't go harder. You have to breathe. You have to relax. And you have to get your mind right and let it go. And I think that for me, it wasn't until my mid 30s when my handicap actually started coming down, and it wasn't the skills and the way I could hit the ball. It was all about my mindset and being balanced. Yep, I just took a double bogey. It's okay.
Yeah.
I can make 2 birdies next, or I can hit a good shot. Let's just focus on what we got to do next, and those ups and downs. So yeah.
We talk
long-winded way.
No, it's good, man. We talk a lot about with teams. There's times for brute force.
There is, absolutely.
But if we rely only on brute force, we can only get so far. And so we talk about like setting up those systematic things and creating the disciplines and routines and habits and actions that are aligned, that move us forward, knowing that there's going to be a moment for brute force. That takes a lot of willpower. We'll have the cognitive energy and the physical energy to then be that brute force.
Right, when to use it. I mean, I think, I can't remember who I was saying. It might have been Jordan Peterson, talking about there's no virtue. The rabbit is not virtuous because it has no power. It's the person that has the ability that holds that back. And that's virtuous, right? And I think, he's got mixed bag with some of the stuff he says, but he talks about being, you're being dangerous, and you should be able to be violent but control it. That's virtuous, right? So I think it's that idea, right? Like you need to be able to unleash on a golf ball at a certain point at the right time, and control how you do that. And Same thing on any sports field. And when I look back, I would have been a much better athlete in every sport I played as a kid if I would have just had a bit of a different mentality about it.
Yeah.
Because again, going hard is great, but it also caught. I mean, I was the guy that's going to fall out of the game. I'm the guy that's going to because I'm not. You almost stop thinking. It's almost my kids watch a lot of anime and cartoons like Wolverine, right? He goes into his berserker mode. He's just chopping things up, right?
Yep.
Sometimes he chops his friends. Sometimes
Yep.
he takes down buildings and things around him, right? So that's kind of the idea of it.
Yeah, and that unthinking state has to be controlled.
Yeah,
it's like you don't want to be conscious in your coaching of yourself in the moment, but you also don't want to be blacked out, not thinking and just out of chaos and out in chaos and out of control. Yeah. So what are you most proud of with the book? Right, completed, like out of everything that you shared.
Yeah, resilience. I think it's more about just being resilient to just get it done and just be okay. It's weird because when you say just be okay, people kind of pigeonhole you like, well, you didn't care what you did. That's not what that is. But it's also about knowing that I worked hard, knowing that I did my best, and getting it out there. I would say it was a little challenging in the last few months. I had it published to Kindle and Amazon, and I didn't want to tell everybody until I had it on Audible as well. In the Audible process, man, did I have to learn a lot of stuff that I didn't think I would have to know, right? Like, my plan was I'm a tech guy, right? So my plan was to use Speechify to clone my voice so that it was great reading and the audio version was smooth and but it was me because that was important to me as well. So, the Audible process, I went through that whole thing. I imported it. I worked through it. I submitted it once. Audible takes sometimes weeks to get back to you because they have a check to make sure, for sound levels. That's something I had to learn is like as you're recording it, even in AI or Speechify, like you have to get your peaks, you have to get your sound correct before leaving past the first thing. So that was a learning process. Then you submit it, and they take like weeks to get back to you. First time they came back and said something about I didn't have a section that's required for Audible. So I went back in, put that together because it wasn't part of the original book. It was like a preface or something in the very beginning. But that was 10 days, right? So I've already got it published, and I want to get this kind of out. And that was 10 days. They come back. So I redo that, find some time to be able to record it, get it back in, submit it. 10 days goes by. They come back and say, well, you can't use AI voice without a waiver. And we only give waivers to like 1%. So in the process is like 6 weeks. And so I'm like, okay, so do I try to go through the process or do I? So then I had to come back out and I had to record it. And so the same board you're looking at right there is sitting in my office right now with a mic. And I had to go through and read the entire book and record it, which, if it's an Audible, it's like a 3 hour and 50-minute listen. You can about triple that when you're trying to record it because you make mistakes and you still got to get it. So that was frustrating. Like I was probably 2 months that it sat on Amazon and Kindle that I really didn't tell too many people. Because I wanted to get it out on Audible so I could get it out. But all things I had to figure out on my own. I did all the artwork myself for the cover. I put all that together. I pretty much published the book myself throughout Amazon Publishing. But you just have to learn a whole bunch of stuff, which is something that it gets old at work or in teams you're part of saying, hey, like look how I've been resilient, right? So but it really was that case. Like I'd never done this before,
right?
Like time and opportunity. I just needed and patience because in the past I might have gotten frustrated and I'm just like, okay, just got to figure it out. And then of course nobody likes the way their voice sounds.
Sure. Yeah.
So, Does that answer your question?
Yeah. With resiliency specifically, you reference that time and opportunity. Right. Looking at high school athletes that have limited time. Right. What are your thoughts as it relates to like urgency with opportunity? Because that is a crunch time. So
yeah, you're saying if okay, I'm a high school athlete, I've got 4 years.
Yeah.
If I want to be a Division I athlete, I've probably got 2.5 because they're looking at me.
Sure.
They're looking
Yeah.
at me end of sophomore year.
Yeah.
Probably offers are coming in junior year.
Because then that plays into as well of like the singular life. I want to show up how I want to show up with integrity, but also if I do this one thing or I do X, Y, and Z, it might be outside of that, but I might get more look, like that.
I think it's going to be super unpopular. Nobody wants to hear what I'm about to say. So I think that the number one thing that they need to focus on is how they approach the problem, not the problem itself.
Yeah.
And I think that be coachable, be trainable, um, and give everything you can give in the right areas. And when I say right areas, put time and effort into those more general and character things. Again, this is why people don't want they want to go out and throw 1,000 passes or go out and shoot 800. The people that do that are the people that have typically decided that that's where they want to be already.
Mm-hmm.
And so build character, be coachable, be trainable. I've seen so many great athletes that just wash out, and not just great athletes, great anything. Another really good book, Mindset. You probably read that as well. But like, you're going to hit a point where somebody's better than you at something. 100%. And so the key thing is build resilience, build the ability to keep going, build the ability to work hard, build the ability to, that's what you need to focus on. And I would say that to coaches, I would say that to leaders. You have to build a culture of that. Then anything, time and opportunity, the people that are like that will take advantage of the time and opportunity they're given. The people who are not it'll be 50 reasons why they weren't successful. And they'll keep coming up with 100 different things. And it will all revolve around time and opportunity, but why they didn't have the time and opportunity instead of making good with the time and opportunity they had. So does that roundabout way to get there?
I think I don't think it's unpopular. I think that what you're talking about is shifting a focus from this physical skill to actually more of the moral and we say intangible, but it is very tangible. Yeah, but it's very tangible because when you focus on those things, I talk a lot about with character. When you focus on those things, you take action on those things, you embody those things, you can grab a hold of that, you can see that. But we focus so often on how's that pass? How's this? It's like the person, singular life, that informs that pass.
Yeah.
And then also helps develop their teammates to catch and do whatever. Like that's what truly matters.
Because everybody's going to fail, and if you haven't developed that, what are you going to do in failure, right? One of the questions we ask on every interview for CatchMark is, what's the worst you failed, or what's the thing you failed biggest on? What were the results? What happened from it?
Yeah.
Super important. From that perspective, if I was a recruiter, I'm not looking at the best passes, the best runs. I'm looking at the ones where they struggled and how did that person react. And that's the person I want to recruit. That's the person I want on my team. And then sometimes you get both. Sometimes you get both. Yeah. Like you get the person that that's just crazy talented and has all that, and then also has the other piece. And those are the special people, and the people that are going to go a long ways. And you can get a long way with just working hard and not having a lot of talent, and you can get away with having a lot of talent and not working hard or not being resilient. Usually, it catches up to you on the talent and not working hard and not being resilient side.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Very much so.
And it's just life. I mean, life is going to throw you things that you're just, I mean, I don't talk a lot about it, but my dad passed away 3-4 years ago now, and in 1 week, I went from a completely healthy dad on a Monday, he was gone on a Friday, right? You can't prepare yourself for that, and so you have to have that. It's already got to be built in because that could ruin somebody, right? And when I say it's unpopular, usually people want a quick fix.
Yeah,
I mean, in our society nowadays, that's what they want. They want the silver bullet. They want the shortcut. They want There's no quick fix.
Yep.
You have to try. You have to try hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fail.
And there's a lack of honesty too. There's a lack.
Oh,
There's the well, that kid's like that. I can be that. You know, and
Yeah.
it's like, no, you have to be honest and real with yourself, no doubt.
Well, you probably could. And one of the things my dad always used to say to me, like I remember telling him, I fell in love with basketball at a young age, and I did not have the build for a basketball player, right? And I remember telling him I was going to play for the Pistons. I was going to play in the NBA one day, and he never told me that I couldn't.
Sure.
But he was also not. He didn't lie to me, right? He says, I think you could do it. He goes, I don't know if you're willing to do what it would take for you to do it. And he was right, like, you know, and like dads usually are. But I think that's the other piece, right? Is like usually it's, are you willing to make the sacrifices? Are you willing to do those types of things? I mean, even with this book, right? There were times when I could have been watching a YouTube, video, or I could have been out having fun doing something else where this was a goal I had and I wanted to get it done, and there's some sacrifices that I have to
Absolutely.
make, right? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
What would you like to share about the book that we haven't dove into? Like, is there anything that pops out that you're like, man, this is something that I would really like to share about this? Or
I would say that, well, I mean, there are a couple of things. I didn't do a good job of, in the book, the print version or the audible version, of talking about. I do have other resources available. The singularlife.com, I have a workbook that you can go through in each chapter, and you can kind of walk through, things like how to do this, right? Like, so you need to make sure you can recognize the divide, but how do I recognize it in myself? And some questions and some things that you can ask yourself, and some things you can do. So that's all free on the website. I've got a blog going with it as well. So I mean, those are some things I don't mention it in the audible version. I don't have it in the text version. It's something like, man, I do some marketing stuff. You would have thought that I would have remembered that. And you can't reprint it necessarily. So it's kind of one of those things where, that's something that I would like to highlight. Is there are those resources out there for people that want to help.
Yeah.
I'm on socials with all of it. Again, I'm not asking for dollars. I didn't do this to make a bazillion dollars or anything like that. I did it to help people.
Yeah.
So
the singular life, man.
Yeah.
Like true to who you are.
Trying to. Yeah. I don't know if I always get it, but yeah.
You're trying, man. You have the aim, and that I think that more than anything is what matters, and that you are that person that's self-reflective to look back and go, hey, missed a little bit here, and now we're gonna keep correcting. Now we're gonna keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's resilience is super, super important, and it's easy to talk about. It's a lot harder to execute, I think, sometimes, but it's necessary. So yeah, I would just overall, if you're feeling drained, if you're feeling emotionally like an emotional well is not full, you need to think about, am I wearing masks? Am I being different things to different people? Because that acting and that effort that you have to do, it absolutely can do that to you. And it might be scary because you're gonna have to look hard into a mirror, and you might not like what you see, and you're gonna have to decide, who do I want to be, and then live and be that person, right? That's, if there's one thing that I want people to be able to say about me, when I'm long gone, is that he was consistent. He was going to bring the same level of effort, the same attitude, the same things to, the littlest task that he would to the biggest task, and you knew what you were going to get consistently, and that's kind of what the book is really about, is being consistent. And the term work-life balance almost means there's two separate, and really you should just have one. It should just be you, and you come home in the same way that you go to work, and you handle those things in the same way, because it's right. It's who you want to be. You know what I mean? Which is hard. I get it. Like, you talk about this stuff, you write a book, and you're like, it's not any easier for me than it is for anybody.
Well, I would say, and this will probably be unpopular, but we talk about this at home, like, little boys like easy.
Yeah.
Men embrace the hard.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, if you want a life of excellence, if you want a life worth living, or looking back and going, heck yeah, man, that was great, you're going to have to embrace those types of things.
Yeah. When I was in the service at basic training, the drill sergeants always say that we want to take the hard right over the easy wrong. And I always was like, what do they mean? And what they mean is doing the right things. I will say, if you do that, it's easier long term.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that people fool themselves into thinking it's not, and it, like, that's why it catches up to people often.
Compounds.
It compounds, and somebody's 45 years old and they're like, holy cow, I'm not happy, I'm drained, I've been chasing this thing, I don't know that if I want it, like, because you fool yourself into thinking that, and that's hard,
Yep.
right? Yeah, so that's what I hope the book can help
Yeah.
people just self-reflect and think about those types of things.
Yeah, love it, love it.
Cool.
Well, I would just encourage coaches out there. I have a lot of conversations with coaches about how do we develop this identity and team identity. Well, some of it starts with you developing that and identifying that for yourself and living that singular life to then lead others to do the same. And so, coaches out there, grab the book, grab the resources. Could be a great off-season thing for any program to walk through with their team, because some of the biggest breakthroughs in different industries are when you look outside of it. And so this business life work adult book to be able to walk through these things could be perfect for your kids to give them vision moving forward. So I just appreciate you jumping on the podcast and talking through this. Great work on the book. And I'm going to encourage people to check it out, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brent.